Speaking of which, one time when I was teaching in the high school, I was teaching in an alternative charter high school, and we, the majority of our students were Black and brown. They were like, high needs youth. And so I remember when I was growing up in high school, you didn't really hear a lot of people saying the N-word unless you were Black. But then when I worked at the high school, a lot of the Mexicans kids said the N-word. And it just made me feel so uncomfortable. And I would talk to them about it, the kids that I had a better relationship with, and kind of just questioned it. And they really didn't know anything. To them, it was just a word. But those are the conversations that we need to have. If you do have around you, you just instill knowledge. You say, would you feel comfortable saying this word after knowing all of this information? And then at that point, right? But they don't know the information. Where are they getting it from?
Yeah.
In African American studies in high school, we should be, but we're not. Because my parents talk shit, so I talk shit. And we just continue the cycle.
Ignition sequence start.
And we are live with the Primas in 5,
4,
3,
2,
1.
In today's episode, the Primas talk about social justice in 2020 through the Primas playlist. We wanted to begin this episode by saying that the Primas stand with Black Lives Matter. The Primas stand with the social justice movement because we believe that every human being should be treated with love, respect, compassion, and empathy. However, we live in a world where that's not the reality, and we want to use this platform to promote critical thinking, self-awareness, positive thinking, etc. We know that we can only do that if we push ourselves outside of our comfort zone and go into these particular topics on race and social injustice. ¿Qué onda, primas y primos? This is Cindy, and I'm here with my two beautiful cousins, Melly Mel and Jess, aka Preemies.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, everyone. It's Jess. All right, let's get started. So we chose a few songs that, for us, tell the story of what we're facing today. And are you guys ready? Super. So I'm really excited about this topic because, we just want the world to know, or whoever listens to us, that we know what's going on. We're very conscious about the social injustice that we've created in our societies, and especially through our very particular lens, because we don't speak for all Mexicans, we don't speak for all Mexican Americans, for women, etc. We're only speaking for our individual selves. So it's a touchy topic, but we did our best to prepare. It's one of our first conversations. So, it's just, we didn't know where to start. So we thought, why don't we use these songs that for us really do express the experience of the Black community in today's world. All right. So we're gonna start with the first song. It's called Mad. It's by Solange and Lil Wayne. I hope you guys have heard the song. If not, Mad, M-A-D. It's super beautiful. And I'm gonna start, so in the beginning of the song, she says, and I quote, "You got the right to be mad. They say you gotta let it go." And then the song goes into her other verse, and it says, and I quote, "I ran into this girl. She said, why you always blaming? Why you always gotta be so mad? Why you always talking shit, always be complaining? Why you always gotta be so mad?" And then Solange comes back in and closes with, "I got a lot to be mad about." Say negative things about Black people. I don't know why. I never understood. I think like younger generations, we question a little bit more, like, wait, why? And our parents didn't have an answer, right? Or our uncles or our grandparents or our neighbors, they just knew that they didn't like Black people. And they always had something negative to say about them. So when I went to college, that's when I learned like the reality of the world, because real history is not taught in high school and middle school and elementary school. We're taught a very Eurocentric curriculum, very controlled, obviously. And so I can't really tell you that I learned too much of what really happens in the world there. But in college, I did, thank God. I took African American studies, Chicano studies, Asian American studies, Native American studies, like everything I possibly could. And then that definitely opened my world. And so, and when I took this African American Studies class, we kind of dissected, like, it was a poem and it was about the angry Black woman. And it was a beautiful poem. And it was, basically talking about why Black women have this negative stereotype and how much they have to go through. And when I took that class as a woman, that's when I realized, like, the most marginalized person, yes, Black people are definitely marginalized and treated the worst. But then there's another layer to that. And for me as a woman, it's the Black woman. Like, that's where I was able to relate a little bit. And yeah, so this song took me back to that class, and she's saying, everyone in the world, everyone in society, we're saying, why are you always blaming? What do you want? Like, work as hard as we do, or stop complaining, stop talking shit, blah, blah, blah. And she says, I got a right to be mad. Like, there's a lot to be mad about.
Yeah, I agree, Cindy. I like that. I agree. They have a lot to be mad about. The verse that stood out to me was the ending, or towards the ending, was I ran into this girl. I said, I'm tired of explaining, man, this shit is draining, but I'm not really allowed to be mad. And I love how she ends the song with this quote. The way I deconstructed it, or my interpretation of it, was this girl is everyone who is not a Black female, and she's just tired of explaining herself. Imagine, still to this day, the negative stigmas around being a Black woman in our society. And still, this whole song is talking about reasons why, but at the end, she still isn't allowed to be mad. I don't know, just resonated a lot with me. And I never heard this song by Solange, but I really did like it. And I really appreciate her lyrics in just trying to extend an understanding of how the Black women are viewed in our society today.
I agree with both of you, actually. Today I had the chance to listen to this song while I was out before going grocery shopping, and it's a hot day in Cali. So I just had to say, like, I was feeling the song, I was feeling the AC, the wind, and a lot of the lyrics. And I think you girls pretty much touched on a lot of the lyrics that stood out to you. And I would just have to say that, yeah, women are, especially African-American women, have such a strong standpoint, a viewpoint that I truly respect in my eyes. So I definitely agree with both of you as far as, like, hitting out this song. That was a great little inspiration for all of us.
Another part of her lyrics says, and I quote, "Where'd your love go?" That touched me because I feel that she's referring to love being like the highest power, love being, God, or love, us being God through love. And like, love is greater than all. Like, I don't know, right? This is just my interpretation of it. And she asks, where'd your love go? Like, where is your love? How can you hate someone and know love? Like, to me, you cannot know love if you have hate in you, right? Like, because hate is the absence of love. So I don't know. I don't know why I thought, like, as a mom, like when we think back to our kids, like, where they're not born being racist. They're not born fearing. They're not born with so many, negative distractions. They just come here, like, ready to live life, and they're so happy and positive. And then as soon as we, and I quote, domesticate, from the Four Agreements by Miguel Ruiz, we domesticate our kids, and then they learn whatever we want them to learn, right? And then in this case, we express racism, like, we express racist behavior, or discrimination, and just judgment. Like, we're taught to judge so young, and we don't really notice that, but that's what racism is. You're judging someone because of the color of their skin.
Mm-hmm.
It's learned behavior, definitely,
Yeah.
and it stems from our home environment.
I would like to add, with a lot of experiences working in the field of child development, speech therapy, a lot of things that I hear on our as young, as far as infants go, they're like sponges. They're hearing things in their environment. They're looking, they're observing. But when you pass a young kid, what is the first instinct they do? They smile, they wave, they want that communication with adults, no matter if it's an elderly person, a person of color, a person, any color of skin, it doesn't matter. They just want that human interaction. So I think when we think of things like this, like it really goes down to like what's in the home environment, what are they hearing, like you often hear, oh, she's a child say, like, for instance, a bad word. So that bad word gets, obviously, where did they learn that from? They learned it from their home environment, their parents arguing, a commercial. And then, that's all I think of that, like as far as like kids being domesticated. That was a really good example using our book club, Prima, as far as the 4 agreements, because yeah, that's so true. Definitely right on.
So Lil Wayne is also in this song, and his part goes, and I quote, "I walk up in the bank, pants sagging down, and I laugh at frowns, what they mad about? Because here comes his mother effer with his mass account that didn't wear a cap and gown. Are you mad because the judge didn't give me more time? Or when I attempted suicide, I didn't die?" So to me, I think they did a beautiful song with the song, because Solange is talking about, from her experience as a Black woman, and Lil Wayne is talking about his experience as a Black man. And then they put the song together where it's like, we're allowed to be mad. Like, fuck you. Like, what are you talking about? Like,
right.
Leave us alone. And we can't even explain it. Jessica was saying it earlier, like, we can't even explain why we're mad. You're not going to get it. It's draining. You're never going to get it. Look at what we're still going through. And so, yeah. Love this song. I highly recommend it. The whole album, actually. All right. We're so quiet tonight. So the next song is High for Hours by JCole. JCole, if you guys are a fan of JCole, you know that his whole style is definitely talking about the Black experience. And so he does a beautiful job with it. So High for Hours, his first verse, and I quote, "American hypocrisy, oh, let me count the ways. They came here seeking freedom and they end up owning slaves." So that's a huge American hypocrisy. What do you guys think about that? That came here.
Yeah. So, sorry, I kind of linked out for a second, but it's like going back to when the U.S. first came about, right? It's like Christopher Columbus. I wasn't there when he was here, but that's in our history. So they came here seeking freedom, but and it trips me out because they were the white guys, like always, coming, conquering, and taking over the land of people who were already here and turning them into slaves. So it's like, it's kind of a, what's the word I'm looking for? Yeah, it's a hypocrisy, but it just shows still to this day, that's exactly what we're stemming from. Like, even from when the US became about, it's like this white guy came and completely enslaved all the natives who were here. And because they didn't look like them, they were like dark complected, and
they also went into a whole continent and then brought over more enslaved people from Africa. And I feel like the whole system is built on that foundation. So how could we possibly have positive leadership in our world today if our system is so corrupt from the beginning? Like, the Constitution, everything is like, what? It's not made for people of color. It's especially not made to benefit or profit the Black community. But the lighter complexion you are, the more you get away with stuff. And then the darker you are, the more the world, it's just made impossible for you.
Yeah.
So it's a huge hypocrisy, especially because there's a lot of, Christianity embedded in the system's language. And I'm not religious, but they talk, Christianity and God, they talk about love, right? They talk about thou shalt not kill. And that's another quote from this song. In this song, so JCole says, I'm not going to completely quote it because it's kind of long, but he's saying basically that he saw a group of white ladies on CNN high-five each other when they announced that they killed Osama bin Laden. And he's like, I thought thou shalt not kill. You know, like there's just so much hypocrisy because it's like, if it's justified, then we can kill. And I feel that it's been justified to the world why so many Black people are in jail, are racially profiled. It's not just, but cops are getting away with it. Everyone's getting away with it. Black lives don't matter. And that's why we're sitting here today saying that they do. Black lives do matter. And it's clear that the system is not paying attention. People aren't getting what they deserve for killing other people because they have authority. And having authority in our society, we have hierarchies, right? The system was built on, there's people that are better than you based on their hierarchy. And it's, I mean, I definitely don't believe in that. That's why I don't follow a lot of Western, the school system, a lot of systems. I'm like, nah, like you're built off of hypocrisy. I don't know who this is really benefiting. I don't know what real agenda is behind this. That's why I'm such a skeptic, because I'm like, no way. You can't, like, no way. There's no one in power that I feel would truly be authentic and a representation of how to move like the human race forward. I feel like everything's just a big joke. And I know I'm going to get some slack for this, but I'm just being honest. I just feel like this is why I don't believe anything ever, because I'm like, what the hell do I know? What does anyone know, right? But like, I'm like, nah, we don't know shit. We really, really don't. So yeah.
We know to respect one another. We know to love anyone that we come into contact with. So respect, love, and peace.
That's right. And that comes from our soul. That comes from our higher power. Whatever you want to call it, that comes from our divine, like us.
Yeah.
I don't want to steer away, but I mean, Tupac quoted,
but then,
he said like, why are we doing this color stuff?
I think because sometimes we're just so into, I think we were talking about, I don't remember this topic, but, sometimes we get so much caught up in our own thoughts that, we say things or we do things that our actions don't even mean it at the time. But, like there's that cry, there's that help where I think we talked about too, like, just shout out, like if you're having an issue going on, like that's what, like mental health, that's a totally different subject from what we're talking about. But you know what I mean? Like it has to come down to you. Like what state of mind are you in, or what are you trying to teach out to others?
Yeah, it starts with the individual.
Yeah. Definitely.
And that's so cool you said that, Mal, because that's the quote from this song that stood out to me. Like, I love how they're all talking about it, about the injustice within their own Black community and providing a solution in all the songs that we deconstructed and peeled. And it just reminded me back to school, right? Like questioning these thoughts and these words and these actions. And when JCole wrote this in the song, what good is taking over when we know what you're gonna do? The only revolution happens right inside of you, I said. So it's just talking about like repeating a pattern. We know what happens to people when they get any type of power. There's so many studies, and again, I'm going back to psychology, what people do when they have a little bit of power. And look at the Stanford experiment. You know what I mean? That was held in an actual college campus. Just a little power. What money does, what any type of power does. So having power and stating that I'm going to be the top dog, we already know comes with abuse. That's a pattern.
Very quickly, for those who might not know what the Stanford experiment is.
Yeah, I was just going to ask. I'm sorry, I was just going to ask. Can you go for it?
Got it. I completely forgot the name of the professor. It was about, this professor had an idea. So he wanted to study it in like the 1950s. He was an actual pioneer psychologist in Stanford, and he wanted to test the theory of authority. So he average Joes with education, uneducated males. So they range from like doctors and lawyers to like your gardeners. And he, let's just say, for example, 20 men. And he said, at random selection, he said, okay, half of you are going to be my security guards and half of you are going to be my prisoners. And he did a mock prison in the basement of the Stanford University campus.
What?
It was supposed to go on for 2 weeks, but they had to cut it short because the guards started, is it cruelty behavior? But started,
like
they started torturing the prisoners. They would stop giving them food.
Yeah.
They would lock them up and I don't know if they abused them, but they started, they only had batons.
They started to get very violent. So they had to step in.
Oh my gosh.
3 days, they had to cut the experiment because even given fake authority, look what it did to these people. And again, they range from educated to non-educated. And how do you explain that in human nature? You know what I mean? So I agree with what he said. It doesn't come with power. It comes with the revolution that's inside of us. And I love how he ended that song.
I love that quote because it's true. I feel like if we ever want to change the world, we're so distracted, right? There's so many distractions. But then on top of that, we don't look at ourselves. We don't question ourselves. I mean, why would we question the system? Why would we question even more, right? We don't even know.
Yeah.
Like, we don't even admit, you know, or not admit, like, just, I feel like a lot of people aren't aware, right? And now this is no judgment. I just noticed how I mean, come on, people who are doing these things, people who are still out here killing people, like, they don't get it.
Yeah.
How just because you have authority, do you feel that you're better than another life? Like, that's crazy to me. So, yeah. Anyway, all right. So the next song, this is a popular one. I love this song. It was like in the 90s. If I Ruled the World by Nas and Lauryn Hill. I love the choir. I love the whole song. The song is super amazing. But to me, what stood out was the choir. I don't know if it's because I'm a mom, but you know, you just kind of get this feeling of wanting to protect all children. I feel like when you're a mom, like, you kind of just get it more. But I don't know. So the quote is, "If I ruled the world, I'd free all my sons. Black diamonds and pearls." That's it. That's the end of the quote. I know it's like a whole choir, but that's my favorite part of it because she says, if I ruled the world, I'd free all my sons. And we were talking about it earlier, and I think it's free them from jails, free them from being discriminated against and killed because of their, like, you would free them. You would say, no, nothing is going to ever hold you back. Not the color of your skin, not nothing, because that's not what this world was intended for. Is to disrespect someone or think that they're less than because of the color of their skin.
Yep, definitely. I think also, like, it goes down to, like, when you bring up, like, the whole, like, oh, because I'm a mom, I see it in a perspective of, you know, wanting to. I think in your heart, Cindy, you have, like, that sense of, like, love, like that. That bringing up of, like, no, like, I want someone to treat my daughter the same way as I would treat someone else, you know. So I mean, definitely it has to do with a lot of us just, you know, just being human to one another and, you know, showing that love and respect regardless. I mean, if I saw something in the street, I mean, I can only control as much as I can, you know, or, you know, try to do my best, you know. But I mean, there's just situations that could become ugly, like with this past you know, experience with social injustice. So to us, I just feel even in the world, like, we just got to be, like, cautious and careful and, you know, just respect one another.
I like it, Cindy, but you ended too soon. I like how or did you say, I love them, baby? I free all my sons and I love them, baby.
I just did the first, like, sentence.
Yeah, so I like, because if that goes back to what Solange said, like, well, where did the love go? And here in Lauryn Hill, this lyric, this verse, she's bringing it back. Like, not only would I free all my sons, I'm gonna love them. And I think it's like a nurture kind of thing, but it applies to everyone
Yeah.
full of love. So I kind of like how it kind of goes back to the Solange verse we were talking about. Where did the love go?
Oh.
My favorite part of the quote from when we're deconstructing this song was, because you could have all the chips, be poor or rich, still nobody wanna having shit. If I rule the world and everything in it, sky's the limit. And again, I'm just tying it back to the first song that we deconstructed with Solange, the Mad, and Lil Wayne's verse, where he said no one wants to see him. And to me, this brings it back to something a little bit different. To me, he's saying,
you could be, you can have all the chips, poor or rich, still nobody wants a black man having shit, right? And so to me, it goes back to like growing up in a Latino environment, because there's a lot of racial tension between Latinos and the black community. Never understood it. I feel like we get a lot of influence from the music. I mean, the majority of Mexicans that I know listen to hip hop, grew up on hip hop, and just the culture. It was very influential to me as a Mexican woman. And, you know, it's something that I kind of always felt the pain, but then I always was like, why do we, you know, like, and then like I said, I went to college and then I understood, you know, we were so conditioned to assimilate and to be as, I mean, I think we're conditioned since we're little that white is better and darker skin tones are not. And then we don't really question things. But like I said, when I did take these classes, which I encourage everyone to take, however, there's a lot of resources online now, like on YouTube, PBS, like Netflix. There's so many cool documentaries where they're saying everything we're talking about. And they go into, you know, more detail, like the social justice system and the prison system. And the stats are there. There are a lot of injustices placed on the Black community. And I think it all stems from power. And then everybody else who isn't Black buys into it. And I mean, I guess we're here today to say, you know, we need to have these conversations as Mexicans, and we need to stop sweeping it under the rug. We need to check our family members and our friends. We need to
educate the youth.
Speaking of which, one time when I was teaching in the high school, I was teaching in an alternative charter high school, and we, you know, the majority of our students were Black and brown. They were like, you know, high needs youth. And so I remember when I was growing up in high school, you didn't really hear a lot of people saying the N-word unless you were Black. But then when I worked at the high school, a lot of the Mexicans kids said the N-word. And it just made me feel so uncomfortable. And I would talk to them about it, you know, the kids that I had a better relationship with, and kind of just questioned it. And they really didn't know anything. To them, it was just a word. But those are the conversations that we need to have. You know, if you do have around you, you just instill knowledge. You say, would you feel comfortable saying this word after knowing all of this information? And then at that point, right? But they don't know the information. Where are they getting it from?
Yeah.
In African American studies in high school, we should be, but we're not.
That's so true.
Because my parents talk shit, so I talk shit. And we just continue the cycle.
Yeah, that's so true.
I'm glad that you bring up youth, because I think youth is a big one.
I mean, I remember having in elementary, we would have like culture day, but even that, you know, like there was predominantly just like, you know, Americans, or like a very small amount of Asians, or a very, very small amount of Latinos, and maybe one or two African American kids, you know, and those people still like, you know, like I don't know, like just, I think there should just be so much more, like you say, Cindy, like as far as like teaching the youth, you know, Pan-African studies earlier on, you know, or just like more on that, you know, and not just have it as a day of, yeah.
Teach them what the fuck is, I'm sorry, like, but teach them what is really going on. Stop
right.
This bullshit material that's not going to help anybody.
Yeah.
Reality of how we're humans and why we came to be where we're at, and how can we be better.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So our next song and final song is Tupac.
Woo woo.
Yeah, we're bringing it home, keeping it West Coast.
LA culture right here.
Yeah. So the song is Changes by Tupac. Tupac was a big time influence for the movement. It's very unfortunate that he died so young. It's crazy, because I've been doing a lot of research on him just to get some motivation about talking, and his style is definitely not my style, but I still respect him because he had so much self-awareness and awareness of the world at such a young age. Like when he was in high school, he already knew his position as a Black man in the American system, and then all around the world, because he got to travel, you know, and he started to see like, oh, okay, this is crazy. Why is this happening? And he spoke out about it a lot, and I love him. I really have a lot of respect for him.
Yeah, I love this song. I'm glad we're ending with this song. Not so long ago, we deconstructed this actual entire song in one of my college classes. And it tripped me out because I wish my professor, we would have gotten a little bit more into it. But for one class session, this is all we talked about was this song. And at the end, again, it's all the ending of these songs that stood with me because they didn't provide a solution, but it made us think about what's going on in today's Black Lives Movement that I feel is super beneficial. And if we can just change something about it, I would like for us to take this away. And he ends the song with saying, we got to make a change. It's time for us as people to start making some changes. Let's change the way we eat. Let's change the way we live. And let's change the way we treat each other. You see, the old way wasn't working, so it's on us to do what we got to do to survive. And that last verse, the way he ends it, just speaks volumes about how it starts within us. You know, it's about what we keep talking about in these episodes, our thought process. It's subconsciously we're raised a certain way, and it's up to us to either break that cycle or you know what I mean? We're just going to be part of the problem. And I mean, I completely stand with this movement. I think it's super important. We acknowledge and we talk about these subjects that are uncomfortable to us sometimes. And it's unfortunate. It's still today. Tupac was talking about these songs in the 90s, almost 30 years ago. And he was only 24. Like if we all just, I mean, none of us could be that progressive, but you know what I mean? If we can just change our way of thinking, and he just got it, like Cindy said, and was speaking knowledge and truth in such a universal way and against corruption and injustice within our own systems. Like, let's target the bigger picture, not each other, because who are we? We don't have money or power, last I checked. All we have is our voice. All we have is our thoughts and our integrity and our morals. So let's start with each other and treating each other much more kinder. You know what I mean? It starts with us. So that's all I wanted to say. I'm done.
Yes, I'm glad that we're ending on this note. We do got to make a change, and it starts with us. You know, a lot of these people have been saying this forever. Newer artists are saying this, and this is the first of many conversations that the Primas are going to talk about. This was just kind of like a part one, because we wanted to say something, but we didn't want to rush it. We wanted to prepare, but whatever. We're just giving it to you guys raw. But we do want to talk more. We do want to talk more to our Mexican community, our Latino community, to really say, like, we have to make some changes. Like, we have to act better for ourselves, for the better, you know, for the better of humanity, for everybody and everything. So, any last thoughts? I did want to just close with, what solutions can we offer, right? Like, I hate when I watch something motivational or whatever, and it's just like, I feel like either scared or just like confused or negative. And I'm like, I want to end this on a solution-based closing. I don't know what I'm saying. I'll get us started. So I wanted to go around and offer a solution until our next conversation. I think the thing that I keep hearing is that it starts with myself. And so now that I have a daughter, I want to always instill critical thinking in her, and just to be as skeptic as I am, and to question everything, because I think that's what this life is about questioning our existence instead of others or a system thinking for us and distracting us. Message. And whatever, like, it starts with us. So yeah, I'm going to make sure that I keep it as real with her as possible about all of these conversations, and let her know not to be allowed to be manipulated by no one, and no one, including myself, her mom. So that's my solution.
My solution is always leading with peace and love in all our intentions. I mean, it starts with us, guys. As all these songs we deconstructed, we've picked and pulled our favorite verses of them, but mine is always going to be like that. I mean, I want people to think of me like that I was always loving and peaceful, and I never want to make anyone feel uncomfortable in my presence.
For me, it has to be feed our youth with powerful, strong words. So however you're feeding off our younger generation, making sure that they are impacted with powerful words, no matter what.
I like that. No.
That's beautiful, Mel. Thank you for including the youth. I don't know why that's one thing that I didn't necessarily, I just was talking, focusing, I guess, on the adult experience, but it starts with youth, obviously.
Exactly. Because they're our generation. They're the next generation.
Yes. Well, you guys, this was awesome. I'm glad that we finally were able to shed some light on where we stand with the Black Lives Matter movement. We stand with Black lives, and they do matter, and they matter to us, and the conversation matters, so we're going to continue it. I hope everyone has a great day.
Thank you, everyone, for listening to today's podcast. Please show us some love, give us some love, leave us some comments on our Instagram page, PrimasPodcast, as well as our YouTube page, PrimasPodcast. Feel free. Some of the comments that we've been reading have gotten some really good talks between us Primas, and we always are wondering ways to respond back positively and grow from some of your comments. So much. Special shout out to our editor Eloy in the background, man. Thank you so much for everything. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode on social injustice.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Oops.